A brief lull in fighting in the Middle East has come to an end as the US military intercepted what it called a surprise attack on its forces by Iran. That's the claim from US Central Command. It's the first reported Iranian attack since President Trump ordered a halt to US strikes over the weekend. Before that, there'd been nearly 2 weeks of nightly strikes by the US on Iran and repeated missile and drone strikes by Iran targeting Washington's allies in the region. At the same time, the US said American and Saudi Arabian forces launched joint strikes on militant groups in Iraq who are aligned with Iran. 20 are reported to have been killed. Riyadh confirming its involvement, with the Defence Ministry saying it hit targets that belong to militias, which it says are linked to attacks on its oil facilities. To remind you, on Monday, President Trump had a busy day, but he met with the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, seeking to patch up public disagreements over the war with Iran. These were talks held at the White House. It was their first meeting since their military forces jointly attacked Iran in late February. BBC Arabic correspondent Sally Nabil is in Cairo. CBS News correspondent Jared Hill is in New York. Jared started by giving us the latest update from Centcom.
Centcom is saying that it was pretty evident that these were the missile strikes were directly targeted toward the U.S. troops in Jordan. They were essentially saying they could have shot it anywhere else, but they chose this location, also the same space where 3 American service members were killed in the past couple of weeks. And so they believe this to be an attempt by the Iranians to directly target American troops and American forces. Something also interesting here is that there was a headline out of Reuters regarding essentially a warning of sorts being put out by Centcom to soldiers at the base there in Jordan, as well as some others in the area, saying essentially that videos that they might be taking of or around the base could be utilized by the Iranians to try and pinpoint locations if they were working toward attacking them there as well. So again, we're seeing this escalation not only in the fighting itself, but also in some of the concern for the life and safety of American troops in the region.
Jared, thanks for that. So, Sally, we have this news that Saudi Arabia and the US have carried out joint strikes against Iran-backed militias in Iraq. How significant is that moment for the Saudis to now be involved in this kind of action?
That's pretty significant because the Saudis are now hitting back at Iran-affiliated militias. They said that this comes in response to earlier airstrikes that targeted their oil facilities in the east part of the kingdom, and they accused Iran-affiliated militias based in Iraq of launching these attacks. The Saudis said that they never start aggression, but they are acting according to the right to self-defense. And this raises the question of whether or not we'll see more involvement of the Saudi forces in the fight against Iran and its proxies in the region. And over the years, I've seen the rising influence of the Popular Mobilisation Forces, and many of these forces are backed by Tehran. They have played a key part in the fight against the so-called Islamic State around 10 years ago or so, and they have gained a lot of influence militarily and economically in Iraq. This is why they are a key part of this fight, and that has pushed another Shia cleric who's not aligned with Iran, like Muqtada Sadr, for example, in Iraq, to say that this kind of behavior might drag the country into war, and he called upon the government to enforce law and order and try to restrain these militias, because Iraq doesn't want to find itself as part of the ongoing fight against Iran.
So, Sally, the Popular Mobilisation Forces, this paramilitary group that you speak of, they have been saying that at least 20 of their members were killed in these strikes, which is quite a high number. What has the government said about this, the Iraqi government?
So far, we haven't had a clear reaction from the Iraqi government. We know meetings are underway to discuss the latest developments, but the Popular Mobilisation Force, which, as I said, is an umbrella group that includes a number of Iran-backed Shia militias, they said that this toll is still initial and the numbers might rise in the coming few hours. 20 have been killed and another 30 were injured. We don't know if this figure is going to change in the next few hours, but again, this has always been a key issue, the behavior of the militants in Iraq, because they are well armed, and the government has been trying to control the way they behave, but so far it hasn't been a success, and they haven't handed over their weapons to the government yet, despite the continuing US pressure on the Iraqi government to put all the weapons in the hands of the militias under government control.